Time to talk personal finance now, thanks to our partners at Forsyth Barr. With the recent downgrading of CVs in Auckland, it's now a good time to look at investments elsewhere, beyond the property sector. Investment advisor Forsyth Barr's Mark Richardson is back in the studio. Hey, Mark.
G'day, mate. How you doing?
Oh, not too bad. CVs don't mean anything.
No, I just thought because that's newsworthy. You're right. I mean, your house is only worth what someone's prepared to pay for, and I think any time is a good time to look beyond property. I feel I'm taking a little bit of a risk today because New Zealanders know property so well, and I would never really argue against sort of residential property investment for the purpose of creating or building wealth, because if you're younger, if you're getting started, you are forced to leverage, and you harness the power of leverage. Once you get to the point where you're not really needing to leverage, I would start to argue quite heavily against property. But also I think there's a case for a little bit more diversification from property alone for New Zealanders. And I don't think New Zealanders realise how the share market, even our own share market, actually performs in comparison to property. It's just as successful.
Yeah, if not more, depending on which time period you look at.
I guess if you go over 10 years, and that's the thing, with property we're generally forced to be in it for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And New Zealanders don't actually, our properties aren't valued on a daily basis like the share market is. Yeah. And if they were, we wouldn't sleep at night because it goes up and down like the share market.
Well, but like the CVs this week, it took, one day and people were ringing council.
Yeah, so I mean, when you look at the property market, I guess over the last 10 years, 6 to maybe 8%, a little bit of yield on top of that. New Zealand share market 9.1 over 10 years, and then the S&P 500 13.5 over 10 years. So the markets are performing the same. It's just you can leverage in property. We could talk leverage equities, but that's a discussion for a whole another day.
Yeah. Do you know the thing about property is when you're young, you can fix them up, and as you...
You make improvements.
You can make improvements. Yeah. There's lots of stuff you can do with them. It's more of a... Whereas you can't do that with a business, right?
Well, why don't we buy shares in NZME and then wander around the building and actually telling people how they can do their job better?
Well,
that's making improvements, isn't it? Well, there's a difference between ownership and management.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
There's a guy who's actually already doing that. A Canadian bloke.
When you buy into a business, a share, you're entrusting the management to make those improvements for you. And there's lots. I think the point is, with New Zealanders, we understand property. We're in it for the long term, and we look at it and we go, well, there it is. It's my house. Well, you could go and buy shares in Auckland Airport. We'll go for a drive out of Mangere, and there it is. It's not going anywhere. That's a dirty great big airport. Yeah. And you've got a hand in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact is, if you're fully 100% in residential property and something happens, it is going to severely affect your net worth. Whereas if you're in a properly diversified managed portfolio, something happens to one of your holdings, it's only a small part of that holding, and it's not going to have the same effect. And
the older, the older you get, I think the more you realise this, we had a landlord who we used to think he was a genius. Well, I mean, he still is, but he had 10 properties all in the same suburb that we lived in, that we rented one of them from. And at the time I was like, man, this guy's loaded, and he probably has lots of different investments. But if you have them all in one place, it's not exactly a great thing.
Often too, as you get a little bit older and things happen, you have unexpected bills. If you have all your sort of, let's say your income stream is coming from your property rentals, and you need to raise money for something, even if it's for a luxury, like going on a trip in later years, you can't sell a quarter of the laundry. Whereas you can sell a little bit of your portfolio quickly.
Great advice as always, Mark. Good to see you. That is Forsyth Barr's Mark Richardson, investment advisor, with your personal finance update for today. 1 after 8, you're watching Herald Now.